Happy Monday, and welcome back to the LordanArts channel, and our final regular episode of Case Cracked. I'm John Lordan. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Case Cracked is the show where we look into a mystery and what are the critical pieces that help solve that mystery. Why are we ending Case Cracked? Well, over the hundreds of cases we've reviewed on this show, we think we've covered just about every single way that a case can be solved. But today, we want to make sure. So we're looking for cases that were solved by pets. Most of us have owned a pet at one time or another. Some of us prefer reptiles, others enjoy fish, and some like to live a little closer to the edge and own pets that are higher up on the food chain, such as alligators or even hawks. However, most of us prefer our furry friends, especially cats and dogs. In 2022, 69 million households had a dog. They're called man's best friend for a reason. We love our dogs, care and provide for them. And today, we have three very special stories that tell us exactly how much we mean to them. On November 27th, 2022, the family of Don Gregorio Romero found that he was missing. The 84-year-old man went walking in Moctezuma, Mexico. Gregorio often walked to nearby villages to visit friends and would later return a day or two later. When 4 days had passed and no one had seen or heard from him, the family decided to report him missing. They feared that with his memory loss issues, he could be lost in the desert. For days, search and rescue crews looked for Gregorio, eventually bringing in tracking dogs to pick up his scent. Unfortunately, they couldn't find him or any signs of him. After a week of searching, rescuers had a novel idea. Why not see if Gregorio's dog, El Palomo, could find him? On December 4th, they brought the dog to the area Gregorio had disappeared from, and almost immediately, El Palomo picked up his scent. For 2 miles, he led rescuers through the desert, until finally, he led them to a spot in the brush. There was Gregorio. He was exhausted and dehydrated, but he was alive. After he was led back out to safety, Gregorio was taken to a nearby hospital to be treated for dehydration and exposure. Palomo was only separated from him when he was taken into his hospital room, and Palomo stood outside the door, waiting for his owner to be released. Officials said, there is no doubt that the love that animals feel for their owners, but in the case of El Palomo, that love went beyond what was expected, as it helped save his life. Our next case takes place near California's Tahoe National Forest. In July of 2022, a 53-year-old man, who has not been publicly named, was camping and hiking with his black border collie, Saul. While out hiking, the man lost his footing, slipped, and fell 70 feet from a ridge. The fall broke his hip and several ribs. He had no means of getting help as he left his cell phone back at the campsite. The man started crawling back towards the campsite, with Saul staying by his side for every inch of it. The man got back to the campsite, but had to still get to a spot that had cell signal so he could call for help. Rescuers were finally on the way, but despite having a ping from the cell phone, they were unable to track down his location. They were able to find a friend of the man's who pointed them towards the spot that he had been staying in. Several hours later, the team was still searching when Saul came out of the forest about 200 yards from the group and ran over to them. Over the radio, one of the volunteers said, "Hey, I think the dog's trying to lead us somewhere, so we're going to follow him." Authorities said Saul acted in true Lassie fashion while he jumped up and down and turned circles. Saul then led the team to his human, who was lying on the forest floor covered in a camouflage tarp. From there, the man was airlifted to the Tahoe Forest Hospital to have his injuries treated. Saul wasn't allowed in the hospital, but was taken to a local nonprofit shelter for a well-deserved dinner, treats, and plenty of hugs and pets. He was reunited with his owner when he recovered and left the hospital. Our third story starts in New Jersey. Sadie, a 6-year-old German Shepherd at the Ramapo Bergen Animal Refuge, was having a tough time finding a home. This refuge is pretty much the last stop for what are considered problem animals. Sadie weighed about 100 pounds and didn't seem to like men, along with a few other issues. Her owner had put her up for adoption after they moved. She had already been turned away by 3 other shelters, so she had no place left to go. That was until she met Brian Myers at the end of 2020. He knew she had trouble with men, but he felt an instant connection to her and thought that they could help her by adopting her. She seemed to agree. When her adoption day came, she ran up, put her paws on Brian's shoulders, and gave him a kiss right on the face. The two quickly settled into a routine and were getting to know each other when tragedy struck. Shortly after she moved in, Brian was diagnosed with COVID. While he was confined to his bed, Sadie would come over. Quote, "She puts her face on the edge of the bed, looking at me, asking for permission to get on the bed. I say, okay, go ahead. And she takes her toys with her and jumps up on the bed," he said. One night, the 59-year-old stood up from his bed and immediately fell down. He was having a stroke, and his cell phone was across the room sitting on a dresser. Trapped in a small space between the bed and the wall, Sadie found him and licked his face until he woke up. He had no idea how he was going to get help, but it seems that Sadie did. She allowed Brian to grab her collar, and she pulled him across the room, where he was able to get to his phone and call 911. Sadie had never been trained as a rescue dog, but she certainly was that day. While Brian was in the hospital and later in a rehab facility, Sadie was loved and cared for at the Ramapo Bergen Animal Refuge. When he was finally released, the animal refuge, Sadie, as well as friends, family, and even the press, were there to witness their reunion. Megan from the animal refuge gave her opinion as to how the two bonded like they did. She says that rescue dogs are often incredibly loyal. Quote, "All the dogs who come here have lost something, a family, a person, or they never quite had that. So when they make that connection, you really become their world." Since the accident, Sadie has faithfully tracked Brian wherever he goes, always keeping a watchful eye on him in case she is needed again. Brian, who's a big believer in animal rescue, had this to say, "I'm a very shy person, but I think it's important to get the word out there that there are many animals that are in need, and all they need is a chance." Cases cracked by dogs. I would like to thank thedodo.com, the New York Post, the New York Times, KTVU.com, BusinessInsider.com, People.com, Today.com, and CBS Evening News. Of course, the biggest thank you goes to Christy Arnhart for researching and writing up today's case, and here she is to discuss it with us now. Well, Christy, we are actually filming this during one of our secret studio live streams, and if you haven't caught one of those, we have a segment usually near the start where we always spend some time appreciating our pets. And as a matter of fact, you might hear one of Christy's pets in the background here. Who's in the background, Christy?
That is actually Lola May. She's my Doberman Shepherd mix.
Oh.
I kid you not. I bonded with her like nothing you've ever seen. I've never been as close to a dog as I am with her.
Yeah.
She protects me. She constantly keeps me company. She watches everything I do. And if she feels like she's going to lose me, she lays on my feet.
She's going to keep you there. Wow.
And she does. Even in the bathtub, she has a fit. She doesn't like baths, and she'll either pound the door with her paw, or she'll come through the door and stand there and put her head between the curtains and look at me like, "What are you doing?
Oh.
Don't do it." There she goes.
Well, she sounds like the type that would certainly save you if something went wrong. I don't.
Oh, she would.
Yeah, I don't have dogs. I do have cats, and if you hear meowing over here, it's because my cat decided now's the time to come up. She must have heard that we were talking about how much we love our pets. Yeah. Do you have cats?
Yeah.
You have cats also?
I have a ton of cats. I actually have 10 cats.
Woo!
I have, yes.
That's a
I
shelter.
have 6.
Christy's running a shelter over there.
Seriously, if I could set up cameras, it could be like Christy's life with pets, because you would not believe the crazy stuff that they do. I've got 6 kittens. I've got 2 adult cats who are their parents, and they've been in love for years. They're so sweet.
Oh.
And then I have 2 other adult cats that I took in. But the cats are just as precious to me as anything else. I mean, I had a cat at one point. Her name was Miss Prissy. She was an Abyssinian,
Mm.
and she would protect me from people. I mean, I remember at one point I had the flu and I'm laying in bed sick, and a friend of mine sticks her head in the doorway to check on me, and Prissy wouldn't let her in. She hissed and she spat. I mean, she was going to do what she needed to protect Mama because she was down.
Oh, wow. Kind of sounds like she
Yeah.
might have been living up to her name a little bit.
Oh,
Miss
yeah,
Prissy, huh?
definitely.
Yeah.
She was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Of course, outside of these extreme situations that we were talking about today, our pets also bring a lot more than cuddles into our lives, right?
They do. They absolutely do. News and Health tells us that 68% of households have at least one pet. Interacting with animals has been shown to decrease levels of cortisol, which we know is a stress-related hormone, and lower blood pressure. And I've heard that about cats' purrs and things like that. And I got to tell you, when the cat blanket is on me and they're all purring, it lowers my blood pressure. Now, other studies have found that animals can reduce loneliness, which they do, increased feelings of social support, and they boost your mood.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I did find one other thing that I thought was so neat, and my niece has to do this from now on, period. Kids who read to animals show better social skills and more sharing, cooperation, and volunteering. They also have fewer behavioral problems.
Yeah, I have heard that. I actually know of a shelter out here where they have a program that does that. And yeah, it's beneficial not only to the cats, but to the children as well. Yeah, and it's just really, really sweet. I've actually seen pictures of it. It's one of the sweetest things you could see. These kids like reading like a Thomas the Tank Engine book or something with a cat just sitting there on a blanket, just listening. They're super cute.
Yeah, Karis has got to do this from now on.
Yeah. Honestly, find a place for her. I'm sure she would love it. Christy, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all your help over the years. And specifically, since this is the last case cracked, thank you for taking that on like you have over the past several years and bringing us so many interesting stories and the stories that are kind of the highlight of being in true crime when, families actually get answers, when justice does arrive. I really appreciate that you've been kind of a beacon for the voice of that on the channel here over the past several years. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We did good work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still going to do good work. I'm going to keep you busy.
Yeah. No, I already am. I believe it.
Yeah. Anything that you want to say to the viewers of Case Cracked before we sign off?
Absolutely. I wanted to thank everyone so much. It has been such a privilege to bring these cases to everybody. I mean, with these episodes, we're ensuring that these people aren't forgotten, well, at least for a little longer, Yeah. I've even had some of these people come to me when they have good results. When you get that phone call or that message where a family member says, I found my loved one, or I found your channel, and it just makes me feel better to know that other people care. It makes everything so worthwhile. It really does.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you all for your support, and I'll be bringing you better stuff in the future.
Yep, absolutely. You'll be seeing a lot more of Christy's work on Searchlight rolling forward. So, and if you want to hang out with Christy live, come check it out. Come check us out in the secret studio where we are right now.
It's fabulous.
Yeah. All right, Christy, thank you so much. And I've got some other people to thank right now. Thank you, PayPal supporters Jennifer Wilson, Larissa Mertschink, and Hillary Green. But most of all, thank you for being here for over 260 episodes of Case Cracked. While we won't be doing these regularly going forward, you can bet if some certain cases that are very close to my heart get solved, you'll see special episodes of Case Cracked for those in the future. Now that Case Cracked is winding down, what's the new schedule? Of course, Tuesdays we'll still have a new episode of our podcast, Seriously Mysterious. We're also moving Searchlight back to its old Wednesday spot, meaning you will get a brand new missing persons case every week again. And on Fridays, we'll be featuring either myself solo on a new episode of Brain Scratch or myself with the team from Uncovered.com on LordanArts Uncovered. Outside of that, random case updates and episodes of Flashlight will be released as needed. Not enough? Check out the LordanArts Facebook page for more content with our punched up and shortened re-edits, or catch us on Mysteria on the Roku channel. Want to hang out with me and Christy Arnhart live? Check out The Secret Studio by using the link in the description box below to subscribe to our sister channel, LordanArts Studio 2. Thanks again for all the support, and I'll see you again here soon on the LordanArts channel.